Yo, what's popping? It's Jonathan, and I'm here to determine the most underrated player on each team in the Overwatch League. Now, this is an opinion that varies wildly depending on which communities you engage with and things like that. This is just gonna be like my general thoughts based on YouTube comments that have said things, Reddit, Twitter, Discord things that I'm in, all that stuff. But before I get into this video, comment down below who you think the most underrated player on your team is, as well as like and subscribe if you're into this kind of content because I do upload daily. So starting with the Atlanta raid, I'm gonna go with OG. So I was trying to determine because everyone like has a pretty good idea of what Atlanta's about. But I feel like OG gets the most divided opinions because there are a lot of NA contenders heads that think he's like the second coming of Jesus on the Lucio and things like that. And then there's the other side that say, well, he hasn't really done anything spectacular. He's just kind of riding off of contender success and playing with UV the whole time. Because UV is definitely a step above OG, and I think that's a pretty plain to see, to me at least. But I think he's been very much a solid A-level support. It's not like he's been making very many misplays or anything like that. And I think, just with everything that OG's done with Atlanta and like his coordination with UV is very good. So I feel like it's very hard for him to be like even mid-level. But there are a lot of people that just don't see the OG vision there. And I understand that, but I also think it's difficult to really recognize how much the main support's doing in compositions. And like who else could it really be on Atlanta? Also, like Nero maybe, but I think most people kind of have an idea that he's like a pretty mid-level player, in my opinion at least. So I don't know. And I think everyone knows that Venom is that guy on Tracer. Maybe there's some people that still don't understand that Venom is that guy, but to me, I think OG makes a little bit more sense here. But for Boston, I'm gonna go with Valentine. So yeah, he is probably their best player. Well, that's a debate still, because you could say Crimzo, you could say Punk, you could say a lot of things. But I think Valentine, like, you give him the right support around him this season, he's been with Boston, right? You give him the right support, you put him on the Spark, suddenly is he Alpha Yi level? Now let that sink in. I think the answer may shock you. I'm a huge Valentine enjoyer. He's a massive shooter on this team. And, like, I think that he just kind of, his performances get overshadowed by the Boston Uprising and the coaching decisions by Laurie specifically. Because time and time again, we saw whenever Boston were starting to come on the up and up multiple times throughout this season, including right now, Valentine would be leading the charge a lot of the time, and even if he wasn't, he was trying to keep them afloat as best as he could, and he's at least kept them out of that bottom basement. So I think Valentine needs a little bit more credit. I think he could genuinely be like a super high level CPS, like Alpha E level, which Alpha E has been on the downfall since the halfway point of this season. I think it's very easy to just say that after the second half of the season, Valentine has performed better, and the perception is not really caught up to that yet. There are a lot of other options on Boston as well, mostly Faith, but it's another main support, and you're like, it's kind of hard for main supports to get noticed, but I think most people realize that Faith is pretty solid. Whether you want to call him B or A or whatever kind of level you want to call him, I think it's probably fair. But if you say Faith is bad, then you've lost your marbles. I don't think he's that bad. I don't think I don't know, he's Faith, he's solid, and that's what they're looking for. But yeah, Valentine for me. Then we're going over to the Chengdu Hunters. Chengdu's kind of hard, but also not really, because it's either Nisha or Monk, and I'm going to go with Monk. I think what he's been doing throughout the season has been pretty damn good, even when Chengdu have had their struggles. But especially in this stage, you see it, even though it's only been 2 games. Whenever he gets the peel he needs, he was able to go crazy on them. Like, Monk was popping off, and he needs to go back up to the level he was recognized at last season, probably. And I think that there might have been some underrated stuff there, too, because it's just so easy to overshadow him with you have Jinmu and how inconsistent and the highs and lows of Jinmu. You have to leave there. Gaga's always there. And I just think the backline of Chengdu do get pretty overshadowed. So, yeah, I think Monk, especially after this stage, if he keeps this up and into the play-ins, definitely put him in the A tier for sure. Things like that. And I don't know. I feel like Monk needs a little bit more credit because he very much impressed me last week. This is kind of I guess a recency bias from last week, but I think it's pretty consistent throughout the season. The same Monk, probably the least rated properly on here. I would say. Now Dallas is hard. Dallas is actually very hard because who can you really say for Dallas? So that's why I'm going to go with Fearless. He played 1 stage. Everyone knows Fearless is good, but I think people credit him with like oh, Dallas was worse when he was playing the tank position, and they've been great with Hanbin, so Fearless might have been a problem there. But like you look at what was going on with Gurio, you look at how they were playing Lucio Moira stuff, like that's not on Fearless. I don't think he's fallen off at all from last season where he was the GOAT. And I don't know. I feel like if you consider Fearless like to have taken a step down as a player, like this performances in that stage, no, it wasn't fantastic, but it was not put in a position to succeed that with that at all. So I think it's very reasonable to say Fearless is probably the most underrated player from Dallas. And like who else could it be? Because Chio and Fielder get a lot of credit. Hanbin is the GOAT, and then Gurrio is not very good. And then Edison stepped up big time. Doha hasn't seen a lot of playtime, but he's been okay when he has. He's getting more now, of course, and Sparkle's been great. So it's like Dallas has a lot of star-studded roster and then Gurrio. So I think Fearless makes a lot of sense here. And next we have Florida. So Florida, this is an easy Rupel for me. Even I've been underrating Rupel because I've said, he's been solid. He's been good. And at the start, we were like, Rupel, why is Rupel even here? He's there. He's a massive downgrade from whatever Kariv might have been. Things like that were being said. And I think he's performed better than I thought. I know he hasn't been like super pop off. He's not UV on the BAP. He's not any of that. But you know what? He's been pretty damn solid. And he was half of the double flex support backline that defined Florida's summer showdown, right? So I think that's worth a lot. And I think the perception needs to maybe increase, and we have to stop looking down on Ripple a bit. I still don't think he's like even above mid. Keep that in mind. But I think he's not in the bottom of the table. He's not on the floor kind of thing. And now we have the Charge. So the urge to just put ChoiSehwan because I think he's literally the GOAT right now is very high. But Xerneas and Faraway also deserve some shout out, but I don't care. I'm going to say ChoiSehwan anyway. Yeah, ChoiSehwan's really good. Everyone knows he's really good. He's better than that. He's better than you think, bro. This guy, I cannot. ChoiSehwan, I don't care. He's the GOAT. You put him on legitimately any team for this beginning half of the season. You put him on the Spark, they go crazy. You put him on the Seoul Dynasty, okay, maybe he doesn't do better than Profit. I'm not going to sell you that high. But no noticeable difference. He's right there. No doubt. But if you don't want to say ChoiSehwan, you can pick either of the supports. They're both very solid. I don't think they've had the performance this season to really raise them above mid-table, to be honest. But I'm just going to go with ChoiSehwan because he's that guy. You could also do Piggy, I guess, because Piggy has kind of shown that he, despite being poorly utilized on Houston, he has been able to step up just in these 2 games. But it's kind of I don't know. It's not a big enough sample size to really say that for me. So I'm just going to say ChoiSehwan, even if you put him S tier, put him S+. He's that good. And now we have the Spark. Underrated player. It's going to have to be, I think it's Super Rich, but I could see Bernard making an argument as well. But I think Super Rich for sure. He should not be benched right now at all. Not even a little bit. The thought shouldn't have even came into Changun's mind to bench Super Rich for Neko. That was, I can't, it's aggravating me thinking about it. It makes no sense. And it's awful. But Super Rich has been probably one of the better main supports in APAC. And that's not really a high bar because after Vindane, Lige Gan to an extent, it's the main supports haven't had fantastic seasons. But Super Rich, he was able to do so much on the Brig in the midseason mana specifically, where he would just live out and just win fights almost single-handedly because he should be dead and he's just alive and supplying the team with rally and things like that. And I think he was kind of heavily underrated. He was very much low A, high B for me this entire season. And the idea that he's just mid or below average or even because the Spark backline, people are the Spark backline, they're kind of below average. I don't even think that was true for the most part. And I don't think it was his fault in the Summer Showdown either. I just think Irony had a really bad performance on the Brig. So I'm a big Super Rich believer all day long. Gonna go with Super Rich, 100%. Then we go to London. So London, I have an urge to put down Sparker, and that says Spacker. Okay. So Sparker, because I think he's very good, but also I think Landon needs a bit more credit here. The thing about Landon is people were kind of saying, oh, they need to improve their backline maybe if they want to be better. His BAPs, whatever. He's been doing things, whatever. But even whenever they briefly played the Poco Sigma, I thought his Zenyatta was inspirational. I thought it was genuinely fantastic. And the only reason that he wasn't able to showcase that was because they were trying to play the double flex support at times. So they had to take Backbone in or Bone back in. But if they had double flex, or they had Con earlier in the season, like their double flex support would have been way better, like significantly better than putting Backbone there. And it's not that Backbone is bad; it's just that I think Landon's that good, and I don't think it even warrants getting an upgrade over him. Like he came in as a backup because Provide had some things going on there that maybe the league or anyone who it was reasonable agreed with doing. Um, to be clarified, because I phrased that weird, uh, he should not be in the league. I don't know. I might have phrased that kind of weird, but anyway, Landon stepped into a spot that he wasn't really expected to be in, and he I think he's excelled. I'm a big Landon enjoyer, but again, I could have put Sparker here, kind of similar to ChoiSehwan. I think he's like very good, and people are giving Hottie more credit because Hottie is like the big chat energy, but Sparker is really that guy as well. And then we have the Valiant. Ooh, Valiant. This is kind of hard. I think I'm going with EasyHan. I've underrated EasyHan even, but he really steps up big time, especially in the Summer Showdown there. He is able to diff some of the best players, some of the best hit scan players in APAC. Not consistently, but from time to time, he gets the better end of Fitz, he gets the better end of Shy, and like that potential is not nothing. Even though it doesn't happen as consistently or at the same level as most of those players all the time, he still is able to step up and be a big driving force for the Valiant on a team that has had a lot of struggles this season. And he's been more, or like he's been consistently solid, but sometimes he's able to take that extra step up. And I think he deserves a lot more credit for that. I was also considering Molly for the spot, but I think EasyHan makes more sense right now. And then we have the Shanghai Dragons, and you know what? I'm going with Lip anyway. I don't care. It's another kid. It's like he's the only player on this team. The fact that he isn't in more MVP discussions, if your top 3 in MVP doesn't have Lip in it, well, that might be a little too much. If your top 5 in MVP doesn't have Lip in it, I need you to reconsider. Because the things he's done for this team to keep them competitive, even like right now, they're only competitive at all because of Lip, and they weren't even, I guess, but like he's the only player on this team, man. Right now, in the kickoff clash, in the Summer Showdown, not in the Summer Showdown, in the kickoff clash, and right now, Countdown Cup, it's Lip show, it's Lip all day, and he's holding this team together, and they need like some pretty significant upgrades beside him before they're ready to compete right now, because they need Who Are You in, or they need Fleta to get better miraculously and go back to his 2020 performance, which is not looking very likely. But it could be Lip. I guess you could say Void as well, but I think Void's had some rough spots, so I think his rating is very fair. So I'm gonna go with Lip. Okay, to continue this, we have the Houston Outlaws, and I'm going to go with Lastro. I think Lastro. I was a bit hard on him at the beginning because I didn't think his Lucio was all that, but it has gotten better and better. He's statistically one of the better Lucios as well, or at least better than average. And his flex support is still very good. He's been a big part of like being able to keep this team afloat. I think, well, not afloat because it's not like they were drowning, but I just think he's been like the unsung hero for this team. Because yeah, Pelican and Merritt are probably one of the most scary DPS lines in the league. Dante has kind of stole the show, not stole the show, but he's been a big talking point with the Doomfist, with the Drunker Queen, and now on the Diva. That there hasn't been a lot of room for Lastro to really come in. And I think he has been pretty solid for this team throughout this entire season. Yeah, a bit rough at the start. I do think it was a little bit rough, but he's recovered pretty well. And Lastro, I think he's been pretty solid. So I don't know, but it's mostly like the DPS and Dante have just kind of overshadowed him, and that's fair. They have been better, but Lastro isn't like a bad support by any means. And then we go to the Gladiators, which is also hard because all of these players are star-studded, and it's very hard to underrate any of them. So I'm going to pull another one similar to Lip and ChoiSehwan. I'm going to say Shu, actually, is underrated by a lot of people. I think it is undoubtedly, to me, Shu is the MVP of this team. Now, this is completely like, I think he's the MVP. That's that. Because I think he kind of enables their entire playstyle that won them 2 whole stages. And you can say, well, Reiner's flexibility, Kepster's consistent pop-off performances, things like that. I think Shu enabled everything. And I have like no doubt in my mind that Shu is the MVP of this roster. We saw what they looked like without Shu. It was not good. It wasn't good. It was 2-4. It wasn't horrible. And they were still a good team. But it wasn't the same team. They went down like at least 5 spots in power rankings, right? at least minimum, mostly more for a lot of people. I think that's a testament to how good Shu is and how much credit you need to give him for how this team even operates. And now we're going to the Fusion. And this is very hard because I think the backline's tragic. Fury's not very good right now. Carpe is tragic. So it's just between MN3 Zest and Belisria. And I think Belisria is probably the guy. Because everyone knows, MN3 Zest can pop off and win you anything. But we underrate that Belisria is also a critical factor in that trifecta of, pop-off potential and inconsistency even. We saw a Mid-Season Madness tournament. They went on a deep run. Belisria was at the top of his game with his DPS, enabling them, popping off just as much as then with boops off the map, minefields, everything like that. And I think we consider them too much to be MN3 and Zest. And yeah, you know what? He hasn't played last stage. He's not playing this stage. But Belisria is just as integral to the team's success as MN3 and Zest. And that's undoubtedly true in my opinion. But now we go to the Shock, where I'm going to go with Sam, actually. So no, Sam is not God's gift, but he's also not tragic. There's a lot of people, a lot of Shock haters. I'm a Shock hater as well, at times. But Sam is not a bad player. He's an average player, I would say. And then some people say that's underrating him too, but I think the bigger opinion is that he's not very good. I think he's been no, he doesn't have the best performance on the Sombra recently. No, he doesn't play last stage because Kilo played instead. But to me, Sam's been solid average player in this league, which is all you really want when you have Kaluge, and you have Finn, and Violet's been even stepping up as well. He's not lighting the world on fire, but he is not throwing it into the dumpster and tripping over his shoelace and dying kind of thing. So I'd like a bit more credit there, but again, he's not going crazy. So I don't know. That Shock's also hard because you could say Violet, but Violet got a lot of credit last stage, so that kind of disappeared. And now we have the Toronto Defiant. This is also very difficult, especially after their last stage, where a lot of the team they functioned really well together. But I think that we need to give Chorong some more credit, even more. Yeah, a lot of people are rating him as one of the best main supports this season, me included. But there are a lot of other people who still won't. Because it's, again, main support. There's a lot of main supports on this list. But there's also a lot of non-main supports, so I don't know why I said that. But I can't really be anyone else. You could say Twilight, but Twilight gets a lot of credit because statistically he was fantastic on the Ana. Actually, I don't think he was really at the same level as his statistics might imply earlier in the season. But the break, he was unstoppable. Hoppa had a great time. It's very hard to choose anyone else to be considered underrated on Defiant. So I'm going to go with Chorong because I think he is legitimately top 3 main support in this league right now. And that is not, I would argue, that's probably not what most people are thinking. Most people probably have some other players in mind before Chorong. But you know what? Chorong's that guy, especially he can play the flex support, he can play the Lucio, the Brig, it doesn't matter what you put him on. He's popping off on it. He's being an absolute rock on this backline. A rock to titanium level, adamantium level. I think he's been fantastic. Then we go to Vancouver. Everyone knows that Spard is everything. King is not very good, I think. I am going to go with Mirror or Masa on this one. I think I'm going to choose Masa because I don't think Mirror has been all of that. Aztecs had pop-off moments too. I know a lot of people were trashing on Masa when Vancouver were down in the dumps. At their absolute lowest, they thought Masa wasn't very good. He was having a bad season, things like that. I thought Masa was pretty solid through the kickoff clash. He did get a little worse than Mid-Season Madness, but you know what? I thought it was fine. And he stepped up last stage. Not even a step up. He's just been solid. I think the whole thing with your main support kind of the perceived value drops when your team does poorly. It's literally that. If you it's not like Masa miraculously got worse after he left Atlanta. People probably recognize now that he's solid, but throughout the season as a whole, I think he's been underrated more than he's been properly rated. So I'm just gonna go with Masa, but again, it's kind of hard with Vancouver because everyone knows Aspire's that guy. He does it all. So now Final Four, Seoul Dynasty. I'm going to do something unprecedented and bring down Creative. So Creative, no, he's not on Seoul anymore. But I think he was heavily undervalued whenever he was on Seoul. Because honestly, right now it looks like Seoul lost the trade to me. I think Creative has been better than Iris. I thought he had been better than Iris throughout this season up until the trade and now after it especially. And it's not like Iris has been performing bad, but Creative was crazy, sleeping proper an insane amount of times in their last match. Like, so I'm gonna put Creative here. I think he gets overshadowed by Vin Dame having an incredible rookie season. You have Profit, you have Smurf doing everything. Stalker had a great Genji. Fitz hasn't had the season that he's known for. And a lot of people would put Fitz right here because a lot of people still say Fitz is getting underrated. He's in proper Profit's shadow. But I don't think that's true this season. I think he has been a step below like players like Lip, like Shy for the hit scan department, MN3 even. He's slowly but surely not maintaining at that upper echelon of hit scan and APAC because the whole talent pool is leveled up, and I don't think he's quite matched that this season. So while normally a lot of people just stick Fitz in here as your easy answer, I don't care. I'm putting in Creative because I think he really has been, and the fact that they traded him whenever I think he had a better season than Iris to this point makes me believe that they maybe were underrating him as well. Now Iris does have a higher potential, so we'll see at the end of the season. I'll probably do like a trade report who I think got the better deal, but right now I'm leaning towards Houston got the better end of the stick. And now New York Excelsior. This is extremely difficult because none of these players are good unless your name is Yaki Flora, and even then they have not been great. So I think, actually, I take that back. I'm going to go with Gang Ninja. No, he had a horrible Lucio. His Lucio was not good. Not good at all. But he has a good flex support still. I don't want to take that away from him, and I don't think anyone else should either. His flex support is good to great, but New York as a team has not functioned correctly to show that off. But everyone knows Yaki's pretty good at times. Like, he can carry them. Flora can do the same, but Gangnam Jin can do it too. We forget he almost did it in the midseason madness at the very end there. He was doing some carrying. Don't let that slip by you. That Gangnam Jin was carrying this team, and in the right circumstances he would. But the right circumstances for New York are like the odds of flipping a coin 5,000 times and getting heads every time. Like, it's not good odds for this team to have a situation that works for them. And now we have the Paris Eternal. I'm going to go with Karai because, he plays, 8 matches, and 6 of them on Junker Queen, and he looked very whatever. But you know what? I'll give him some benefit of the doubt right now. He's been pretty all right this stage. He's still getting perma-hacked and things like that, but, it's Paris, man. It's very difficult to actually say someone's been underrated because this team looks tragically awful. They did look better this stage, though, so far, so hopefully they keep that up so they don't look as bad. It's not as painful to watch. You could argue either of these supports as well, but I feel like people understand most of the time that the floor supports are generally pretty good. You could put either Rack or Luke here, but I think Cry is probably getting a bit underrated compared to everyone else. But that being said, I don't think he's been very good. I don't think he's been even average, but he's not put in a place to succeed, right? So I'm just gonna go with I'll go with Cry. And then for the 5 players on the Washington Justice, I think it's Krillin or Opener for me, and I'm trying to decide which one. And I think I'm going to go with Opener, because Krillin, at least at the beginning of this season, it was very clear that he was popping off. Opener, it took a little bit while for people to ease into because of Washington as a team and how catastrophic they can be, where they just blow up and don't do anything and they look awful. Opener was pretty consistent throughout that, and it's very easy to overshadow that because of how inconsistent this team is, and just because of the Washington factor. Who's paying attention to Opener, really? You pay attention to Opener a little bit more, and you realize he's actually quite good, and has been one of the better pieces on this team throughout the season, consistently on a game-to-game basis, which is hard to find. So I'm going to go with Opener. People have started to come around a bit more, but I think we're not quite there yet, for sure. I'd say Opener definitely needs a bit more credit where it's due. But that being said, it's Washington, so it's impossible to really say that. But anyway, again, let me know who your favorite team's most underrated player is in your opinion. And so subscribe, and hope you enjoyed. Deuces.